In this lesson, we'll learn how we can reduce hot spots on the face. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm really liking the progress that we have made thus far. At this point, I start to make a lot of comparisons, just where we started out with and where we are. And again, I think we've really peeled away a lot of years, taking him from a guy that appears to be about, I'd say, early to mid-50s to a guy that is probably in his, I'd say, later 30s, getting close to 40. I look at this and I say he's probably 36 or 37, so pretty close to where I want him to be. So I want to focus now on some hot spots that I see. Basically right here in the top of the forehead, we kind of have a little hot spot right there. The light is kind of bright right there. On the tip of the nose especially. And then kind of on the sides of the mouth right here, these little areas, I might want to just remove those almost entirely. But as for the tip of the nose and the forehead, I just want to reduce them. I don't want them to be removed completely. You want to be mindful of this because you can start to flatten out an image. You still want that sense of volume and depth to be there. So we're going to make another merged copy. So hit Shift, Control, Alt, and E. And that'll give us another merged copy on a layer right there. And again, make sure you have a visible layer selected when you do that. And this merged copy, just to reiterate, will include all the layers that you have visible, which is noted by those little eye icons. In this case, it's everything. All right, so we're going to use our patch tool that we selected towards the end of the previous lesson. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a selection right around that little hot spot right there. All right, very cool. So having done that, what I can do is drag to another area of the forehead, probably right about there, and then release. And you can see now it's replaced that. Now the entire hot spot is gone, so I don't want it to be completely removed. So this is where we can use a little feature to kind of reduce that. Okay, so really quick, we can hit Control H to hide the visibility of our selection. It's still there. We didn't deselect it. And so what we're going to go ahead and do now is come up here to Edit, and we're going to go to Fade Patch Selection. All right, and this gives us a little dialog box here where we can take the opacity down for that patch. And so we're kind of starting to just kind of reduce there. You can see what it looks like at 0, and then just by kind of bringing it up a little there. So right about there, just kind of taking it down just a little, I think, is good. Okay. Now you're probably wondering, well, why don't you just reduce the opacity of this layer that you did that on over here in the Layers panel? Well, because I plan on reducing the blown out areas on different parts of the face, and that's going to vary, okay, depending on how blown out a certain area is, and we're going to be using the same method, so they're all going to be different, so you wouldn't want to have the same opacity percentage for all of these different areas you've edited with the patch tool, okay? So jumping here to the nose, that nose tip right there, making that selection, and I'm kind of pulling that up slightly to right about there, okay? I'll hit Control H. Let's hide that, kind of see what that looks like there. And then what I want to go ahead and do is come back to Edit, Fade Patch Selection. You can see what it looks like gone, and then we can kind of start to bring that back up right there. Okay? And of course, making a comparison as we go. So just kind of taking it down there just a little bit. Again, that percentage we use for the fade patch selection is going to be different for all of these different areas. So that's why we don't want to reduce the opacity for the layer itself for all of them. Okay, coming over here to these little side areas of the mouth, I just kind of feel like I could probably remove those. We could probably use other methods, but I think the fade patch method will work just fine. So kind of taking it right about there, I think is good. Control H to hide that selection, and then fade patch selection going under Edit. Kind of see what that looks like without, and then I like to come back up with it. So right about there is pretty good. Okay, And I'll do the same thing over here. Right? And I'll hide my selection, Control H. Then fade patch selection once again. It's right about there. So I didn't entirely remove them, kind of like I said, but just kind of lessening them. Okay, each one of these is going to have a different percentage as far as the opacity goes. All right, so that's feeling a lot better. We'll make another comparison here. So I feel like that really helped just improve the overall quality of the image. You can see now how distracting those blown out areas really were now that we've kind of reined them in a little bit. So very nice. All right, so in our next lesson, we're going to start kind of jumping around here to some other areas. At this point, we're kind of tightening up everything on the face. Okay, we've pretty well got to the point in time where we want him to be aged, and so now we're kind of tightening up little details. I'm going to focus on the eyes in the next lesson. He's got some bloodshot eyes, especially this one right here looks really rough. And then from there, we're also going to focus on his lips. He's kind of got some lip crusties right here. I want to kind of clean all that up, so that'll be kind of towards the end where we're just kind of making some overall edits using some of our healing tools, just kind of cleaning and tightening up different areas. So we're getting pretty close, so stick around. We'll catch you in our next lesson.